Hello there everybody, it's time to do a summary of another month, to put a cork on the month of June 2019. June 2019 have been a little so-so, an okay month, nothing more, nothing less. I've been finding some stuff every here and there, but not a huge sum. But maybe it's for the best, as I'm having high hopes for the great flea market months of June and August. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the real summer is giving me. To start with, next Saturday it is a flea market here in the area where I live. From a guy who is selling out only records and audio equipments, so it's going to be very, very interesting. But June has brought some vinyls, some singles, some CDs. So let's start with it, with the CDs. Not all that much, but a few. First of all, I found myself some real nice Brazilian music. How about these two great albums, live albums, with Brazilian singer Gal Costa. Here it is Gal Costa canta Tom Jobim. She sings Tom Jobim in a two CD live album. I listened to quick peeks of it, and it sounds very, very smooth, very relaxing, very great. And this is Gal Costa Acústico. I think it's MTV logo up there, so I think it's a Brazilian version of MTV Unplugged. But also a very, very interesting album. Going on to jazz, with maybe some Swedish touch on it. This is my favorite singer, Monica Zetterlund. She has some a song here, but she doesn't. It is not her album. It is that she picks her jazz favorites. Normally, these when artists picks their favorite in different categories, it is the record label that have picked some songs, and the artist is getting paid for having his face on the cover to sell money, and it is pure garbage. It is another name for an ordinary compilation. However, if you have, like I, read her autobiography and studied Monica Zetterlund, and you see the artist in the back, and she also has written in the cover cover sheet about why she chose these songs, then you get a pretty good idea that this is actually her own picks. This is not Stockholm Records that have been taking a few jazz classic and putting her name on it. This actually is her own choosing, her own songs. And we have here some mix of Swedish jazz, Swedish folk music with jazz touch, and a lot of ballads. You have Coleman Hawkins, Thelonious Monk, Lars Gullin, some of the friends that she has been working with, Dexter Gordon, and we have of course Bill Evans that she have worked with, and Toots Thielemans, of course, and of course Hasse and Tage, my favorite Swedish comedian. So this is very nice, interesting compilation. Some Swedish jazz live music with a little crack on the CD box. This is Swedish saxophone player Dan Domnerus and a group in a live recording from a jazz club called the Pawn Shop Jazz Club. playing jazz classics. And this was very interesting. This is Johnny Gill, formerly on New Edition. New Edition members that have been successful is, of course, the one you think of is Bobby Brown. But Johnny Gill, nothing too bad about Bobby Brown. As a singer, he has done a lot of great stuff in the 80s and beginning of the 90s. But I think that Johnny Gill is even better. Maybe because he most of all surrounds himself with musicians and producers that are real great quality, like Ellie Reed and Babyface. So this is a compilation called Favorites, with best songs. So those were CDs. A few vinyl singles. Donna Summer, Love Is in Control, Finger on the Trigger. Donna Summer is produced by none other than Quincy Jones. One of the first albums where she stepped away from Georgia Moroder. This is actually a real good Donna Summer song. Unfortunately, I had the album from that this one comes from, and the entire album is produced by Quincy Jones, but it didn't live up really to my expectations. It was a weaker album than I thought it would be. Some 70s soul. I've shown these before. Those from Chris that have written on the sleeve. But the quality is real great. This is Tavares, famous for the song Heaven Must Be Missing an Angel, with 2 tracks, Fool of the Year and Who Done It. And we have Motown from 1978, a band that I actually never heard of, but for once this guy who has written all over the sleeve and the record have done me a favor, because he has written what kind of genre it is. It says disco funk, and it says a Motown from the 70s. It can't go all right wrong, so I took a little risk with the band Switch. And a song called We Like to Party, Come On. It's written by B. DeBarge. I have to check up if that is related to the band DeBarge of the 80s. Maybe their father, I don't know. However, here is on the B side, Somebody's Watching You. Not confused with Rockwell, because that is Somebody's Watching Me. Some real great stuff here. I found a Blondie single, Picture This, from a Parallel Line album. Really great song. And we have Fade Away and Radiate on the B side. And I found myself a Depeche Mode single, The Meaning of Life, from a Broken Frame record, I think. And this is an interesting song. It is sounds like the little last attempt of this go happy synth pop that was typical for the first album, Speak and Spell, before they got darker. But this one is a little more go happy album, even though Vince Clarke since long is gone from the band. It's not. I don't have all that much left until I have complete Depeche Mode from Depeche Mode singles on from the 80s and early 90s. Then I can concentrate on finding CD singles. So extremely happy with that. Vinyls, full length. This one was very interesting. Found this one. The sleeve doesn't look all that good, but it's a very interesting sleeve. The album itself though looks very great. I'm not a huge fan of Rod Stewart, but I felt like I wanted to have his first compilation from 1972, Sing It Again, Rod. Look at this sleeve. It looks like a whiskey glass, shaped and cut like a whiskey glass, with the reflection of Rod Stewart on it. I think this might be one of the most interesting sleeves I've ever seen. And of course this guy has written Chris 1972 on it, but I felt like I love I said I'm not usually a big fan of Rod Stewart, but I do like Maggie May a lot, and I think Handbags and Glad Rags version is really good. And I listened to quick peeks of it, and it sounds really good. Not this really rock and roll or disco Rod Stewart, but almost like kind of a country singer-songwriter Rod Stewart style of it. And I actually like this. This might be one of the best Rod Stewart albums I ever heard. And as the sleeve doesn't look all that great, but as you can see, considering that the sleeve is a little worn out, the album itself is pretty good shape. So I felt like, why not? For $2 this could be a really nice catch. Some Swedish jazz. This is Swedish pianist Charlie Norman. I've shown him multiple times before. This is an interesting Charlie Norman. It's consisting a whole lot of great famous names like Janne Schaffer and also Armando Jaar on congas. Armando Jaar, most famous these days for being the father of Swedish singer Titiyo. And he plays Swedish, traditional Swedish songs here, schlagers, some folk songs, and so on, but in jazz versions. So it's going to be very interesting listening how he have made this. This one I listened to yesterday. Bengt Hallberg, another Swedish pianist, plays Bacharach, and on the sleeve it looks like this could be a very much low budget release, but it is actually, musicians are real famous names. He plays with Red Mitchell, Egil Johansson drums, and Rune Gustafsson guitar, the Elite, and it is real interesting versions. Some a bit experimental, but still very exciting. Some maybe a little bit hard for me to swallow, but it's very interesting. Some songs I recognize. 24 Hours from Tulsa, a real nice interesting version, and also a nice version of This Guy's in Love with You. So it's a really exciting and good album that I will keep, at least for now. We'll see what happens when this comes calling time in the future, but it's a good album. I think I will keep it. Jazz outside Sweden now. We have Count Basie that I found for around $5. One more time, the music from the pen of Quincy Jones, which was one of the main reasons why I bought it. Count Basie playing Quincy Jones songs in an album that are recorded in the 50s. And this is David Bowie in collaboration with Arif Mardin, the producer that is most famous these days for giving Chaka Khan her career back in the 80s with I Feel For You and so on, and that also produced one of the best albums ever, Scritti Politis' Cupid and Psyche. Here he was the co-producer alongside with David Bowie on the soundtrack from the movie Labyrinth. As I do collect David Bowie, it was a must-have. And I listened to quick peeks of it, and it's a lot of experimental album, but it's going to be very, very interesting to listen to the entire album. Elton John, found in one of these nice home flea markets. A person that have been moving and had a flea market in her own home, and it is a season for those small home flea markets, and it started off really good. This is Elton John, Sleeping with the Past, consisting Sacrifice and Healing Hands and Club at the End of the Street. A real great song. I had this one on a cassette copy before, but at that moment I realized later that it wasn't I wasn't all that interested in it. However, these past years I have found a new interest for Elton John's music, so I felt like I want to have this one. And Healing Hands, Club at the End of the Street, and Sacrifice are real great songs, so I felt like I really should have this one again in real vinyl this time. A genre that I don't find all that much. It is British house from the 80s and early 90s. But I managed to find Bacharach, which is William Orbit is producing here anyway. And this is a real good album, real great album. When you're buying full-length albums and not singles with 80s British house, it could be anything. It could be anything from just some loop mixes to some real songs actually. And this is the later one. So it is real funky, both funky, relaxing, and it is real great. And fascinating rhythm is of course the best song of this one. Set Control for the Heart of the Bass is a title of the album. I also found some Edmundo Ross. Easy to find Edmundo Ross in Sweden. We have something that it was real fun to find. Edmundo Ross live. Edmundo Ross in concert. Real interesting album. Listen to quick peeks and it sounds very interesting. Consisting some real nice tracks, Brazil and I Adore You and Coco, some Seco, the normal great Latin big band stuff. Finishes off with some more jazz. I'm not that huge fan of Louis Armstrong. I'm really not. But I like his earlier stuff until around 1933-34. Those are the Louis Armstrong that I like. After that, I think it became a bit too much Dixieland for me. And after, of course, when the 50s, when he was forced to do some more of a entertainment music, like Hello Dolly or Wonderful World and so on, I really think that one was not interesting at all. But the early Louis Armstrong is very interesting, because he hasn't gotten his raspy voice all too raspy yet. And it's very interesting to hear. So I found this album set showing a gatefold that is blank. This is released on CBS French series Aime vous le jazz? Do you like jazz? My French sucks, I know. And it says here, volume 8, 1931 to 32. Listen to quick peeks and it sounds really interesting. But I was hoping for some information on which kind of bands he plays in. It says absolutely nothing about bands and which persons besides Armstrong that are playing, but it sounds great anyway. And this label normally, this series I should say, Swedish Jazz, normally really have released some great interesting stuff. I have a few of these, so I still felt like I wanted to have it. Ella Fitzgerald and Chick Webb's Orchestra, 1935 to 39, released on MCA Choral. Some big band jazz with vocal, with the best ones in the business. So that was June. Now let's see if July lives up to the expectations with a whole lot of interesting findings, flea markets and so on. So until next time, I hope that every one of you have a real nice continuing of the summer. And take care everybody, and so long.